Today, we're going to review the Timberline office product for commercial and industrial contractors, a product that has been out in the industry for over a decade and is utilized by nearly half of the ENR top 400 contractors. Come join us and see why so many successful companies utilize Timberline Office to make their systems more efficient. Okay, what we're looking at now is the Timberline Office desktop application, a front-end application that sits on top of Timberline and enables you to completely configure your screen based on the type of work you're doing in the company today. For example, if I come in and I'm an executive, I might want to have a start page that comes up something like this, where I might have financial information that will display. For example, bank account summary, payable summary, receivable summary. If I want to focus in on something in more detail, I simply double-click on it, and you see that I see my receivables aging in greater detail. If I need to look at a vendor list, I can jump into the vendor list, register. The point is, this allows you to completely set up Timberline the way you want to use it. Get your arms around the information in a meaningful manner from a management standpoint so that you can see what you want to see when you log in. So when I log in as a project manager, for example, I may have a project manager start page showing me some critical information on a particular project that I'm concerned about. Perhaps I need to jump right to a job contact list and be able to view my contacts by trade, architect, engineers, so forth. Maybe by specialty sub. In addition, as a project manager, I want to be able to come into my correspondence log, go directly to transmittals, log an RFI. Depends on the type of function you do. In the accounting person, I may need to work directly with the vendors, customers. Perhaps I need to come in and enter some invoices. So the desktop really lets you configure your system by function. Now, what's powering the system behind the scenes is the core applications, the main applications for Timberline. And as we see here, this is the main menu that the desktop is powering behind the scenes. Just to give you an overview as to what we offer our clients, we really have a complete solution from initial takeoff of an estimate, a brief conceptual estimate, all the way through the job closeout punch list. The main modules running across the top are accounts payable, where you can enter and process your invoices, receivables for producing and entering billing invoices, address book, a really powerful piece to our system that enables one database of contacts for project management, estimating, and accounting. All of your vendors and customers are synchronized to one location, in addition to items like fax numbers, emails, information, and the system now enables you to fax or email directly from Timberline. Billing application for producing invoices. We have cash management, which is a module that allows you to not only do your bank reconciliation, but allows you to do electronic reconciliation where you can import the checks from a file presented to you from the bank and electronically clear those checks in your system. Contract module, tremendous module for setting up and controlling things like the relationship between you and the owner. How are you going to do the time and material, cost, units in place, percentage of completion. What type of format are you using? Is it an AIA billing format or a specialty format that you'd like to customize? Timberline can accomplish any of these, and the contract module empowers you to set it up as you need between you and your owner or your customer. Equipment module handles heavy equipment costing as well as costing equipment to projects. Financial statement designer allows us to completely customize the output of the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statements, and financial reports. Also allows for intercompany and multi-company accounting, as well as divisional and departmentalized accounting. General ledger, for setting up the general ledger chart of accounts, making journal entries. The information assistant, powerful module for a look but don't touch application. If there's people in the company that you want to set up, for example, the ability to look at reports, regardless of what application they come from, the information assistant enables you to do that, and also enables you to set it up such that it can't get in any trouble. It's a look but don't touch only module. No master file maintenance, nor any data entry can be done there. So it's truly look only. Inquiry Designer is a tremendous utility tool for customizing the inquiries within Timberline. We'll see that in a moment. Inventory for processing inventory. Job costing, where we also set up jobs, budgets, and variance reporting, as well as change orders, subcontracts, and committed costs. Payroll, for payroll processing, including certified payroll, union payrolls, correct calculation of workers' comp over and under rates. Project management, tremendous module for paperwork control, RFIs, submittals, transmittals, correspondence log, as well as cost tracking, directly for project and contract administrators. Property management for our commercial clients that also manage their own properties. Purchasing for creation of purchase orders, tracking the job cost, and matching with AP invoices. Remote time is a module that enables us to collect field time entry standalone at a job site to be sent at the office for processing. And then the report designer allows us an incredibly powerful tool to really produce reports the way you want to see them. Let's take a look at the system. For example, I might come in as an estimator. If I click here, I can go directly to my estimating start page, or click here to go right to doing a new takeoff in the estimating system. When I click there, the estimating screen is going to open up, and you'll notice right away that in doing a takeoff, the estimating screen presents a format very familiar to people who use Microsoft Excel. So the interface for people in that Windows environment is very comfortable, easy, and efficient to work with. And powering the spreadsheet in estimating is a database behind the scenes where I take off my material items, prices, labor and equipment costs, and so forth. I can take off a number of different ways. I can just do a quick takeoff where I reach into the database, maybe grab an item to produce onto the spreadsheet. For example, maybe I've got some architect fees, or perhaps I've got some foreman time. Maybe it's a labor foreman. And I could simply double-click and add that to my spreadsheet right here as we see. And then here I could put in the number of weeks. Notice that the field is blue and is bold and italicized, letting me know that I have yet to give a quantity here. And once I put that in, you'll notice now that it completes that line entry. This is one of several methods to be able to do a takeoff. Another method available is assemblies, where you take off groups of items, or even a model takeoff, where by going through a small interview process that you can customize, the system will go through and produce a takeoff for you. As an example, I want to take off a wall system. That's when I take off a tilt-up wall on a spread footing. We go to the interview. You'll notice a couple of things. First of all, I can tell it if I'd like to see an image of the work we're about to do, just to help me get a better understanding on this estimate. I can turn that off, turn it back on. And then by answering a few basic questions, the length, the height, and these dimensions can be manually entered, pulled in from a digitizer, pulled in from electronic plans through our ePlan takeoff, or recalled from another takeoff. I'm filling in a few questions here, hitting OK. The system will go through all of my database items and completely fill in the spreadsheet for the wall systems as we see down here. Right through here. And then I can quickly scan my estimate to see if there's anything I'm missing. The system will automatically stop. For example, I said I was subbing out this item. Who's the subcontractor I'm going to use? It'll let me know I haven't selected one as of yet. I can finally come over to my totals page, quickly manipulate things like what my fee is going to be, get my total budget, and then from estimating I can produce a proposal format, which is a flexible reporting format to produce a proposal the way your company would like to do it. Then I can simply come over to the interface and I slide my budgets on over to job cost. And from there we're ready to start tracking this job in the accounting system. When I select that item, the system will bring the budgets over to job cost so that we can go ahead and report on them. Let's take a look. from the catalog over here, you notice I move the mouse, I have a catalog. I can go directly to any application in the system I'd like to go to, or any particular item in that application. So for example, if I want to go right to a cost control inquiry, and I know the one I'd like to see, maybe my estimate summary, I can double click there, and the system will open up my estimate summary for me to review. And remember, with the desktop controlling all the functionality, when I complete an item and close, I will come right back to my control center in my desktop where I can view other information. Now, what the system is opening up here in the job cost system is what we call an inquiry. Very, very powerful capability within Timberline. What I'm about to present is the same in all the core Timberline applications, be it AP, payroll. So one advantage is from a learning curve standpoint, it's very consistent. Once you understand what I'm going to do, is really reach into the database and get the data that you want to see in a manner in which you want to see it. So you can make better management decisions more efficiently, more timely. As an example, you'll notice that I'm looking at a particular inquiry in a spreadsheet format where I've got the project number, project name, the original estimate, which would come over from the estimating system. We see the contact building right here, the approved changes, and then my total estimate. Now, there's quite a few things I can do in this screen. You'll notice that as I scroll up or down, on the upper right, there's a piece of paper with a paper clip attached. If I move on a particular item where there's something attached, you'll see a piece of paper show up. If I click on that item, it'll instantly show me any notes that I've put in there. It'll automatically time, date, and operator stamp my notes for me. In addition to that, if I have any file link, might be a Word document, might be a scanned image of the project, I can attach those directly to the files within Timberline. So here we see a project in progress. One area where we see this functionality being used more and more, as an example, is in accounts payable. More clients will take accounts payable invoices, scan them in at entry time, and when someone else goes to approve the invoices for payment, they're able to see the actual invoice document on screen. So we have the attachment. Something else I can do in this screen, let's say, for example, I want to know what my total cost is as compared to my budget. If I click on any column heading, I get a magic little menu here that will let me edit that column's contents, insert a column before or after, or delete this column if it's of no use to me at this point in time. Important to note, you're not editing data, you're just editing the different views of the data. From a security standpoint, that's important to note. So let's say after this column, I might want to come in, for example, and see my job-to-date costs. I can tell it any heading I'd like to give it, how wide I'd like to field, and hit OK. So now, I'm quickly able to see for all projects what my cost is compared to my budget is. And that's pretty good. But let's say now, for example, I want to see, geez, okay, that's what we've spent, or that's our cost incurred thus far. What have we built? I can click again. I could add a little column here, and I could say, please show me my job-to-date bill. And now we're quickly able to see our billings as compared to our costs. Another very powerful functionality feature within Timberline is the ability to filter data or produce data in a management by exception format. In other words, don't show me something unless it falls through the cracks, unless it falls through the parameters I've set. As an example, let's say that you wanted to look across all projects, only jobs that are underbilled. Only show me jobs where my cost is greater than my billing. Well, I can condition every single report or inquiry in Timberline to present the data that I need to see when I need to see it. So, for example, I could say, I'd like a condition, please. And I'd like to condition the data such that the job-to-date cost is what? Is greater than. I could just enter a value here, of course, or I could just list an item and compare to another field in the database and say my work billing. So when I hit OK, I'm now able to see my costs greater than bill. When I hit OK, you'll notice two things happen. One, the system shows us a picture of a filter. Two, it is only showing me jobs that meet the criteria I've set. I'm only seeing jobs where my bill is greater than my cost. Now at this point, we have ability within Timberline to note that entry, perhaps create an issue and email that issue to the appropriate project manager for follow-up. So we can actually take action once we find something that falls through the cracks like this. In addition, I can click my filter and I can add to it, change it, or just delete it and bring back all the projects. Okay? Now, something else we can do in this particular inquiry, in every inquiry within Timberline, let's say I don't like looking at this in a spreadsheet format. Perhaps I'm adding too many columns and I'm scrolling right off the screen. Well, any inquiry within Timberline, you can take and instantly change to a form view. Now, when I change it to a form view, you'll notice two things. One, I'm not seeing all the projects at once. But two, I am seeing more fields of information. In other words, I'm seeing estimate by cost type as compared to my cost by cost type for remaining estimate by type, and then my totals. Now, if all of those were columns, that'd be 18 columns, I'd be scrolling into the wall to see it all. So here I can present all the data efficiently in a form view, showing me my last time I posted a cost for the project, who the manager is. Now, perhaps at this point you want to know, what have we built on this job? Anywhere in a blank screen that I click, I can go add my own text field, or go grab a field out of the database and present it on the screen. So perhaps here I want to see my billings today. What heading would you like? Would you like a box around it? Sure, that would be great, thank you. And there it is. And perhaps I want to present that right here. So now I can quickly see my cost as compared to my bill. And if I hit next down here, you'll notice I scroll through the projects at this level. Or I can hit table and go back to my table view. Now, so we have the form view, we have the table view, we also have the ability to do instant drill downs, as an example. I want to know more about that contact building project. Simply by double-clicking on it, you'll notice the data is presented now by cost code. And realize in Timberline, job numbering, cost code numbering is completely flexible. That's something that you can set up as you need. I have mine set up following a CSI format. So 1 is general conditions, 2 site work, 3 to 16 being electrical. You'll notice that I have my original budget for each item, in addition to each change, in addition to the total estimate. And then if I wanted to, I could drill further in to see what makes up these particular budgets. Or if I cancel, the screen will walk up in another direction. It will go up so that I can go off in another direction. It will go up to the prior screen. Or I can close it entirely. And when I close, notice we're right back to where we started in our desktop. So we see how estimates can be produced. They can come over to job cost for comparative reporting, variance reporting against actual costs. We also have the ability, we click here and we go directly into the job cost system. Okay. A couple of items in the job cost screen just to point out. You'll notice that within each Timberline module, there are particular icons that you'll see across the top in a toolbar format. For those of you who have ever worked with products like Microsoft Office, Word, or Excel, this format would be very comfortable or familiar to you as we follow the same format that Microsoft does. In other words, you notice there's a group between a break between each group. Each group represents corresponding pull-down menu item. So for example, under Edit, I might have undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, using the standard keyboard commands from Microsoft. I can turn on those icons here. Well, that's very useful is for reports and inquiries that I want to have instant access to. So for example, if I want to go directly to a profit inquiry, I can click right here. If I want to go directly to a job cost summary report, I can click right here. And in the job cost system, for commercial contractors with some contract control can be a concern. Timberline really has that covered very well. When we set up a subcontract in the system, we have the ability, when we set up a subcontract, to track quite a few things. Let's pull one up and take a quick look. Let's say, for example, I'm looking at my plumbing contract. You'll notice I can tell it the contract number, which I can assign, the vendor who's doing the work for us, what retainage we're charging, and with retainage, you can now set it up such that if, for example, 50% of the contract is at 10% and the remaining balance is at 5%, Timberline can address it. We could also put in quite a lengthy scope of work, as Timberline can produce your actual subcontract document upon completion of entry of subcontracts. We can track items like the schedule, startup dates, actual dates, notifications. Very important for many prime contractors is the ability to track the insurance certificates. Timberline allows us to track up to 4 insurance certificates per contract, per subcontract, per job. We can also customize up to a 10-item checklist. For example, perhaps you want the system to warn you when you have not received a signed contract back from your subcontractor, or performance or payment bond. That's something that you can set up and manage and administer in Timberline, as opposed to many companies we find out there are doing these things in standalone Excel spreadsheets or manual files. We can truly bring the administrative side into one database in Timberline. Other info, let's just track, for example, who from the subcontractor side are we dealing with? Who in our company is dealing with that contract? Is there a performance or payment bond required? And what's the particular information? And going along with Timberline's extreme flexible ability, flexible nature of the system, if there's something you want to track that we didn't think of, you can add up to 250 user-definable fields for every master file within Timberline. So I could add some fields here, for example, track project management approval date, management received date, whatever the particular item might be. And then these fields can be used for conditioning, filtering, sorting, and printing of reports. Okay? We also allow for inclusions and exclusions for the subcontract. What are they including or excluding in this particular scope? Secondary vendors. For those of you that are concerned with preliminary lien releases, unconditional and conditional liens, Timberline can address that. We can produce the forms automatically from the system. We just log the secondary vendors here. If a joint check is required, if we receive the lien release, and where we received the last one. And from here, we can control the subcontract from reporting and job costs. As soon as a subcontract is created, a commitment cost is posted to job costs. They can be tracked through accounts payable, warning you if you're about to overpay a contract, if you're about to overpay a budget on a line item for a contract, giving you control over your cash flow. Also for compliance items like certified payroll received, lien release received, items you may want to track and control and administer before you send the payment out. An example of one inquiry of how we can control subcontracts might look like this. I can come into my inquiries and say I'd like to look at a contract control, for example, where I can see all my purchase orders and or subcontracts, who the vendor is, the project that they're on, the description of that particular subcontractor purchase order. I can resize my fields. The original contract, approved change orders, revised contract, amount they've invoiced us, amount we've paid, and the remaining balance on their contract. So for example, we take a look at the one we were just working on, the Kingston Plumbing contract. We see that it was originally for $88,000. We had a negative $2,500 change order deductive change, bringing the contract down to $85,000. We've been invoiced $22,000. We've paid $12,000. We have a balance of $63,000. If I need to know more about that, just double-click and drill on down. The specific cost code that they're working on, what's been invoiced, what's been paid. If I double-click here, it will show me the specific invoices. And if I double-click on our invoice, I can see the specific check number we paid, the date we paid it, the invoice we paid it against, and the specific bank we paid it out of. And that is all accessible via the desktop, project management, or job costs. So you can set up your system for access depending on your workflow procedures and your security procedures. Coming back to the desktop, as an example, if I'm an accounting clerk, and within the desktop, realize that you can configure this based on the functions you do the most. If I primarily am an accounts payable specialist, I can come in and have a desktop configuration configured just for my role. So I could have one for accounts payable specialist, receivables, billing, for the controller perhaps, maybe for the project manager, depending on your tasks and how your company workflow procedures are set up. As an accounting clerk, you can come in and directly enter some AP invoices, select checks for payment, print the checks, perhaps come in and enter some receivable invoicing, or produce some bills or retainage. Okay, to illustrate just some of the data entry capabilities within Timberline, we're going to go ahead and pull open the payroll time entry screen. And I think data entry is an important point to mention in any good accounting system that's being used, as many Windows-based systems force data entry to be done in more of a form view. And in a form kind of screen, you're using the mouse, you're using the tab key, and anybody who's done a lot of data entry work in accounting will tell you that their 10 key is their best friend. That's where they can be most efficient. Timberline is aware of this, and in all our entry screens, two items to mention. One, they're flexible. You can customize the entry screens to meet your business needs and how you do your work, your data entry. Two is that we can do the entire entry from the 10 key. So you can enter straight across for production entry of time cards, payable invoices, and so forth. That can be a real efficiency item. So, first of all, when I'm in payroll, you'll notice that I can go to Tools, and I can completely customize my time entry. So I can draw the screen the way I want. Well, let's just pick an existing one. If I click the picture of the time clock, well, which view would you like to use? I can pick up a hit list and say, I would like to use my field time entry view. Realize these screens are customizable, and you can have as many different ones as you want. Put in the period begin and end date, hit OK. And it brings up a time entry screen that is going to be very familiar to anyone who's ever used Excel for entry. You notice here I can simply select the employee, and I can use a shortcut function key to look them up, or I can just type in the name, social security number, or employee number. And how you set up employee numbers is up to you. It can be alphanumeric or numeric. So when we select somebody, it tells us their name and social security number here. We can select the job they're working on, the cost code in hand. The system knows their union class if applicable. Now, if you're non-union and this is not applicable, these columns can be turned off and you don't even have to enter through them. Regular pay, type of pay entry, and then the hours, let's say it was 8 hours, the rate, and then I'm ready to move on to the next employee or the next entry for this employee. You'll notice the system pre-fills the employee number. Tremendous feature that's available in all of the Timberline data entry screens is the ability to auto-set any entry. You'll notice that if I either click auto-set down at the bottom, or click right on the field, there's an asterisk there. If I've got 20 lines of entry for this particular employee, I don't want to have to touch that field again. Just auto-set it. And when you make your next entry, overtime, let's say, for 2 hours, you'll notice that when I key over, the system skips employee and jumps right to job. So it can auto-set any field, except, of course, rates or something that should not be set, so that I can speed up my entry, make it very efficient. We have many clients with over 1,000-man payrolls that are able to key them in very quickly because of the customization of this screen. Notice also, I'm not showing the amounts over here. I can either show that or not show it based on your security. So we go ahead and accept the line. And the system's going to produce a journal for us that we can review our work and make sure we have no errors. And that is doing data entry in Timberline. Whether you're doing accounts payable, payroll, the entry screens are easy, flexible, and 10-key based. Now, so we're going to finish up. If we entered all our data into Timberline, now we've given the project manager something to work with. Project manager might want to go right to project management, look at the correspondence log, and some RFIs, the meeting minutes. To illustrate that, if we were in project management, under documents, we've got our transmittal, correspondence log, also the ability to set up the 20 custom logs to track whatever item you might want to track that we didn't think of. For example, we have clients to track tool libraries. We've got some clients that will set up a photo log for tracking job photos. You might want to set up something for safety notice meetings. To give you a quick example, if we're looking at the tool library, just something simple to track small power tools. I can tell it's a job. And right here you'll notice I've got a tool number where I've created a little drop-down list of our tools. Contact, responsible person. You can shorten that up. The date the item was checked out, date returned, person responsible for returning, and any comments or item condition. This is something that you as a user of the product can go ahead and configure however you would like to. It's completely flexible. Something else I'd like to mention, under the correspondence log, you have the ability now to directly access this correspondence log, whether you're in Outlook, Word, or Excel. So for example, you'll notice that I've got a variety of items here, maybe an email that came in. To log something into this log, I can key directly, or I can be sitting in Outlook, I can type a new email message, and then I can say right here, you notice Timberline installs a little project management correspondence toolbar right in Outlook for you. I can simply click Add to Log, tell it the project in question, give it some comments, status, a due date, and so forth. And once I send this message, it will log in Timberline. Also, if I receive an email message in my inbox, I can log it to Timberline in the same manner. Additionally, if that email is deleted from my inbox, it is still saved as a copy in Project Management in Timberline. Same with Word and Excel. Finally, we have the ability in Project Management to allow project or contract administrators to come in and set up their own purchase orders for contracts, enter budgets if they're not flowing in from estimating electronically, key in items like percentage of completion, cost to complete, for variance reporting, set up schedule of values for billing. We also enable them to come in and look at a variety of inquiries or reports throughout the system based on what it is they need to see. So it truly allows the project manager to have instant access to the same data that accounting is using, set up good controls through security, but enable everybody in the company to work on a single database for contact and job information, share the same information, creating greater efficiency. In addition, by setting up something as powerful as Timberline, we should be able to reduce or eliminate the need for secondary spreadsheets or manual file systems to track information that should be in the database. Now that you've seen just a little bit on how Timberline Office can help you streamline work and build your business, we do encourage you to contact the Timberline representative for additional information, answer any questions you may have, or to arrange an on-site presentation where you can get more information and a detailed look at the product. Thank you very much for your time.